Okay, well, hello everybody. So this is sort of my official introduction video to the YouTube channel, So You Exist. Now, the topics on this channel, they could be heavy, they could be quite intense, but it's it's really sort of as simple as this. We live most of our lives just trying to keep busy, right? Because thinking of anything bigger than the job you're doing that day or the simple tasks you're doing, like gotta go to the grocery store and get food, those sort of simple mundane tasks, ironically, sort of keep our sanity. And but generally speaking, this human experience we're having, if you actually have some free time to actually sit there in silence by yourself, it could be quite overwhelming. You hear about all these different phrases like, I have a friend who's going through an existential crisis. Wow, that sounds intense. Well, the honest truth is, every single human being on this planet, if they thought about things deep enough, they would probably be going through an existential crisis. Now, why is that? It's like, hey, Tony, come on, that's kind of negative. Why would everybody be going through a crisis? Existence is beautiful. We get to love each other and have great experiences, of course. But what do you do when you sit in silence after those experiences? Because the thing is, you can't keep busy 24 hours a day. There's going to come a time in your life where you have a bit of silence to reflect. And that's when it usually hits people. Some people reflect on these things from a very early age, like a really, really early age. And some people only really reflect on these big concepts maybe at some point in their life when they've had a little bit of a break. But when you sit down and think about things deeply, why would I say that, generally speaking, most people would probably have an existential crisis? Well, when you actually sit down and think about what's going on, how would you not have an existential crisis? So let's say you've lived most of your life, if you had a pretty regular life, everything's cool. Then one day, for whatever reason, you have a bit of free time and you lay down and thinking, I'm just going to relax now. And then your mind starts roaming around, just starts thinking about things and just keeps going. And you think about your life. And then you think, I wonder what's beyond this life. First of all, if you even like get to like the big question is just your own existence by itself, well, if you're caught on the idea of just simply how can you be existing, because it makes no rational sense to just exist. If you can get past that point, then you start to wonder, okay, so I exist. So if I exist, what does that mean? Does that mean that I've never existed before? And then I just sort of stumble upon this life randomly, and then I die when I'm old, and then I'm gone forever? I cease to exist for all of eternity? Is that what's going on here? Or has existence just sort of always existed, and I've probably maybe have always existed in some form, so when I die in this lifetime, I just sort of, my consciousness or awareness just sort of still lives on and just keeps going? right? Because you think of both of those possibilities, right? And when you sit down and ponder both, they both are almost unimaginable. Like people can kind of conceptualize the idea of like, okay, I was born randomly by accident and then I die and I rot in the ground and I'm gone forever. Big deal. People can sort of grasp that. But sometimes you wonder if people really truly grasp the idea, if that's not the case, and you just live on, what that really entails. Because it's insane. The idea of just existing forever, they're both such insane, unimaginable thoughts. The idea of just randomly existing once by freak accident and then being gone for all of eternity forever is insane to think about. And then the other option is just what? You just keep going. You actually don't die and your awareness just lives on forever. That's insane too. So you think, wow, I've had this crazy life here. I don't know what this is all about. I'm doing what I'm doing. Got my friends. I'm just trying to keep busy, have my life. And then you die and it's over. And then you just like float off out of your body. And you're like, well, that was an interesting experience. What now? And then you're like, well, you know what? I'm not going to go back to Earth for a while because that was just too crazy. So I'm just going to chill out here in the afterlife dimension, right? Just imagine some sort of infinite levels of existence, and after you die, you just sort of reconnect with, some other level of existence that you're there, just with your consciousness and awareness, maybe. So you're sitting there thinking, wow, well, that Earth life was crazy, so I'm just going to take a break from that. So you chill out for a while. So how long do you chill out for? For as long as you want. You're living for eternity. You live forever. So you can chill out for like 100 years if you want. Or you can chill out for, 1,000 years. But you know what? You've had a really rough life on Earth. It was crazy. You got stuff out of it, but it was a pretty crazy life. So you want to chill out even more. So you chill out for, 100,000 years. It's pretty cool, right? It's a long chill out. Imagine chilling out for 100,000 years. But even after 100,000 years, you're like, man, that I'm still not over that life on Earth. That was crazy. Let me chill out for 1 billion years. 500 billion years? 800 billion years? So let's say you just chill out for an amount of time that I can't even, there's not enough zeros for me to write it down. And after all that time of chilling out, you're kind of, I don't know, you kind of feel like maybe I should try that again. It's been a really long time. So, some nostalgia hits in, and then after billions of years of relaxing, you decide, you know what, let me try another incarnation where I go into some sort of physical. It might not even be on Earth anymore, right? Because if everything's infinite, then you would assume that there's infinite planets that are like Earth, infinite dimensions and planets where like people are sort of they're having some sort of human experience or some sort of biological experience where we have a body and we live our lives. Maybe the bodies look different. So you think, okay, let me try that again. This time your body's slightly different. Maybe you're on a different planet that's sort of similar, but not really. And you have another experience. And then that experience is even crazier than your last. And you think to yourself, wow, that was intense. Whew, what a crazy experience. I'm going to chill out again. So you chill out again for another billion years. And what do you do after 1 billion years again? Let's try that again. Do you get my point here? That was like a really long-winded rant, but do you get my point of eternity? You just keep doing this forever. That's insane. So you think, what's the end game? We just keep doing this forever. And now, of course, there's like different religions and philosophies that have their own idea of what, the magic prize at the end of all this is. But they basically all just sort of like, a lot of them just sort of, you just keep doing this and then afterwards you go to some really nice place. Christianity has heaven, you go to heaven. And then I believe in the Buddhist tradition is sort of like you're supposed to eventually let go of everything, let go of desire, and then eventually you become enlightened and you reach nirvana, the state of nirvana, or the dimension of nirvana, or whatever you want to call nirvana, a place of nirvana where you're just at peace. Now, there's nothing wrong with being at peace. It's beautiful. But do you want eternal peace forever? So, like, imagine a place like heaven. It sounds nice. Oh, it's a place where everything's nice. But what does that even mean after billions of years of being in a place of nirvana or heaven where you're just at peace and you're just like blissful and you're just always just blissful. You're just so blissful. You're so enlightened and you're so blissful. And you just want to have an eternity of that. Kind of reminds me of like seeing someone on a heroin trip. It's kind of like they inject themselves and it's like, oh, this is euphoria. This is the best feeling. Oh, everything's amazing. And you look at them and you think to yourself, well, that's an experience. I don't want to take that from you if you want to have that experience. But I don't think you could live in the high of heroin forever. Why? Because that's only one experience. So would you really want to limit yourself for the rest of eternity to that one experience only? What have you been doing for the last billions of years? Oh, I've just been blissful. I've been really blissful. I'm just so blissful and just enlightened. I've let go of everything, all my attachments, and I just float around through infinity, just blissful. I mean, I'm sure that's probably great. It's kind of like a nice massage. Imagine, have you ever gotten a really great massage? I mean, just an amazing massage where you sit there for like 30 minutes or whatever, and you're just, oh, it feels so good. Your back is rubbed. But would you really want to spend all of eternity getting a massage? Even though it feels amazing, it feels incredible. Of course you wouldn't. Imagine if someone gave you two options. Okay, you could either spend the rest of eternity just getting a massage because it feels blissful and beautiful, or you can experience other stuff also. As amazing as that warm, relaxing massage is, you're going to eventually want to try other experiences. So this whole idea of eventually like attaining nirvana and enlightenment and doing what is it really? That massage, you don't want an infinite massage forever. So my point is, again, you come back to these incarnations. So this whole cycle just goes on forever, for all of eternity. So that's why it's insane to think about it. The idea that you just keep doing this forever. Why? Because there's nothing else to do. What else would you do? We just exist. The idea of existing is absolute nonsense because it makes no rational sense, and it never will. The best you could ever do with existence is just like accepting that it just is. That's it. Because there'll never be a rational answer for existence. There can't be, because it's not rational, right? Because everything works by cause and effect, but existence itself, it just is. It's like, so you just have to just sort of like let go of it and just keep doing stuff. So you're like, okay, so I exist. It makes no rational sense. It never will for all of eternity because it's nonsense. Because you just exist. No cause, no effect. It just is. Like even if you ask the greatest intelligence that's ever existed, if you connected with the intelligence of all that is, call that God or source. Oh, dear source, dear God, how am I existing right now? How are you existing? It makes no sense. And God, the source, and God's like, well, I created all of this, man. I created all of this. What do you think? It's pretty cool, awesome, right? And you're like, wow, yeah, it is. God, source, it's amazing. I can't believe you created all this. But how about you? How did you get here? Oh, I've just always been here. What do you mean you've always been here? I've just always existed. Just kind of what I do. It's my thing. Just always existed. That's it. That's the magical answer you're gonna get. I've just always been here. So, right? Because when you scale it back enough, you got your two options. Either something magically came out of nothing, which Just nonsense, right? Nothing, and then just somehow magically something just popped out of nothingness, or however you want to word that. People get really into the semantics of nothing. Well, if you say nothing, then it's nothing becomes something. We all know what we're trying to say, right? The idea of there's just non-existence and all of a sudden magically existence comes out. It's nonsense, the idea of that. But then there's the other option of like either something magically came out of nothing, or there was just always something there. Whether that thing that was just always there was energy, or was it, whether it was source or God, just the idea of something having always been there is nonsense. Both options are nonsense, whether something magically came out of nothing or there was just something always there, because they make no rational sense. That's why they're nonsense, because they make no rational sense. There's never going to be a being. We also try to diminish our intelligence, thinking, well, we're just not smart enough to understand this concept. We're just not there yet. It's beyond our brain to imagine. And it's not beyond. It's very simple for you to imagine it, because that's why we struggle with it, because it makes no rational sense. So it's not a matter of not having enough intellect or smarts to understand it, right? Because if some alien race that's 1 billion years more advanced than us, if they come down and we ask them, existence, what is this all about? They're not going to give you a satisfying answer. No one ever will. Because it's nonsense. It just is. That's the best you're ever going to get. If you ask anybody, how is existence here? Oh, it just is. Right? So if you can get over that, that's, if you can just magically sort of just pretend to get over that, even though it makes no rational sense. Here I am just existing. So what do I do now? We just keep doing stuff. For how long? Forever. Just forever. Is that cool? That's what. So when you wonder about someone having an existential crisis, can you sympathize with them? Like, are you surprised that they're having an existential crisis? It amazes me more that more people are not. In fact, it amazes me that everyone's not just on the street, just delirious, just rolling on the ground, just rolling into a ball and just like rolling down hills and just like drooling, just whatever, running into walls, smacking themselves on the face. I'm surprised the whole world just not completely just rolling around, just covered in their own, you know what I mean? Because it's insane. Existing is literally insane, because it's just, you're just here, and then you think, okay, I'm here, so what now? You just keep existing. You just keep doing stuff. That's it. You just keep existing, like I said, because if you just try to like have some sort of philosophy that there's some sort of ultimate magical goal where you reach enlightenment and you're in nirvana, or whether you go to heaven. Again, it's like the massage analogy. A beautiful massage is so blissful and heavenly, but do you want an eternal massage forever? No, eventually you're going to want to experience other things. As amazing as being blissful is, just living in bliss forever, just, it's a very limiting experience. You call someone on the phone, what's going on? I'm blissful right now. You call them in a year, what's going on? I'm just so blissful right now. You call them in 1,000,000 years, what's going on? Just being blissful, super blissful. Call them in 100,000 years, oh man, I'm just so blissful. You kind of stop calling that person. All they got to say is that's how blissful they are. It's all that's going on in their life. What have you been doing? Just floating around in bliss for eternity. It's pretty awesome. So eventually you come down from that bliss and have another experience. And then what do you do after that, though? Well, then you have another experience. What do you do after that? Just have another experience, man. Relax. Yeah, but how many experiences? Just keep going. Don't worry about it. Just keep having experiences. Yeah, but what am I gonna do? Just keep having experience forever? Yeah, just keep going at it. You got this. So that is an existential crisis. Is there a magical answer? No, there isn't. That's, but we talk about it because that's all we can do. We talk about it, and talking about it, we don't really solve anything, but we do it just because at least it makes us feel a little bit better. Because, and it's also nice to talk to people who sort of grasp the insanity of it. Because sometimes you might just talk to someone and they're like, what are you even talking about? Existential crisis, thinking about the universe existence? I just want to go, I'm just going to go get my coffee and just go have some fun. I envy people like that. I just think that's beautiful. I think that's so lucky to be able to just sort of like, you know, rub it off and just keep enjoying your life and not think about it too much. I don't look down on that at all. In fact, I think it's beautiful. If you're one of the lucky ones that can be that way, that is beautiful, because thinking about it doesn't really get you anywhere. Try to be all intellectual about it and, yeah, well, I believe. We're just shooting words out of our mouth in a hope that somehow we connect a little bit more, because you do start feeling lonely when you have these thoughts and you kind of think that maybe no one else around you understands where you're coming from. And that makes you feel terribly lonely. So we reach out to other people that can kind of feel what you're talking about. So at least we don't feel as crazy as we think we are. Because if you start feeling all those heavy, deep thoughts and you feel like no one else around you is doing that, you start maybe thinking, well, am I crazy or something? But then, you reach out and you find other people. They're like, well, yeah, of course I understand why you're having this crisis and thinking about this, because it's insane. This whole experience is insane. It'll always be insane. You just keep existing forever. What is that? Or like I said, there's also the other option of like, you have this random life and then you're gone forever. But that's also just as insane. This is the idea of thinking you're just randomly, spontaneously came here for a microsecond of eternity and then you're just gone for all of eternity. That's just as like ridiculous and insane also. So there's the existential crisis. So the name of this channel is So You Exist, because that's what we're doing. We're just existing. And I created this channel mostly to talk about it, but to also have some fun, try to joke around it as much as we can, because sometimes, laughter is the best defense mechanism for going insane. I mean, you really don't, when you deal with these topics, sometimes you really got no choice but to just sort of laugh about it, because it's just so, it's beyond anything, beyond any words you can express. But at least, let me put it this way. This is going to be maybe a personal thing for me to just get out my thoughts and, talk about these topics. And I would love it if somehow it grew into like a community, a really great community of people who support each other. We can talk about these sort of topics, especially if you feel like maybe in your group of friends or your family, they don't really kind of get this kind of stuff, and it can make you feel incredibly lonely. So that's why I'm putting this out on YouTube. It's for me to express myself, but also I would love it if it ended up, becoming a really nice community of people who can talk about this. And like I said, most likely we're going to figure out some magical. These are like campfire conversations that will exist and have existed since the beginning of time. You just sit around and talk about this stuff, and because there's not much else you could do other than just talk about it once in a while and feel like someone else understands where you're coming from. And that's what this is all about, this channel. So we'll see how that goes, but I'll keep making videos, if nothing but just for myself. And if people watch it and it grows into some sort of community, I'll be happy with that. But I'll just let it be and let it become whatever it wants to become. And I'll leave the intro video. We'll call it over for now for this video, and I will see you in the next one. So you guys take care of each other, be good, and I'll see you later. Bye.